High-ranking Republican in the House is calling an alleged Iranian plot to attack targets here in the United States, quote, a declaration of war. He's making a dramatic accusation and calling for Iranian officials to be expelled from the United States. And joining us now from Capitol Hill, Representative Peter King of New York. He's the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you, Wolf.
You dropped a bombshell today at your hearing. You said you want all Iranian diplomats serving in the United States to be expelled, to be kicked out, because they're spying, really. What's going on here? What are you talking about?
Well, basically, Wolf, Iranians have diplomats in New York, or at least people assigned to their mission in New York. They also have diplomats in Washington, D.C. I am very convinced from people I've been speaking to really over the last several years that within those groups are people who are, involved with terrorist forces back in Iran. Others are obviously involved in attempting to do espionage in this country. I'll give you an example. In New York several years ago, they had to expel a number of people from the Iranian office there who were found to be taking photos and pictures of the New York City subway and transit system, which was believed by the NYPD to be, they were scoping it out and they was planning a possible terror attack, or they wanted it in their files for future action. So they are serving no real purpose here in this country other than advancing Iran's interests. And the main reason I wanted to do it is that what Iran did as far as planning this attack in Washington, D.C. against an ambassador, which they realized could have caused the deaths of hundreds of Americans. That was a declaration, really, of war against the United States, an act of war against the United States. And for us just to increase sanctions or to attempt to take some diplomatic action, I don't think it would really strike the severe tone. We have to make it clear this was a game changer. They jumped across a red line here, and I think by expelling diplomats, that would send a clearer message. Now, there's other things we can do also.
Well, let me get to some other things in a moment, but how many diplomats are you talking about? How many Iranian diplomats are accredited at the United Nations? How many are working here in Washington, D.C. in the Iranian interest section, which is part, technically, of the Pakistani embassy?
Yeah, I don't know the exact amount. I would say we're probably talking like 40 or 50 that I would have concern about. I'm trying to get the exact numbers, but we, to me, should get rid of either all of them or most of them and send a clear signal. Like, for instance, in New York, I said we know that those who are attached to the UN, supposedly for, to assist in UN activities, were actually being used to plan activities against New York, who are out taking photos. From people I know in the intelligence community, certainly those here in Washington, we have very good reason to believe are involved in spying and surveillance, that type thing.
Well, doesn't the U.S. have responsibilities, international legal responsibilities, as the host country to the United Nations in New York, that it can't simply kick out diplomats who are accredited to the UN, and the Iranian mission, obviously, is accredited to the UN?
I would say that under these conditions, because of Iran actively plotting against the United States to carry out activities in the U.S. against us, terrorist activities, acts of war against the United States, that the United States is clearly within its legal rights to expel those officials from Washington, D.C. and from the United Nations.
This alleged plot to kill the Saudi ambassador was part two of the plot. You had now a couple of weeks to get more information, also to try to blow up the Saudi and Israeli embassies here in Washington. Was that just idle chatter, or was there something serious there?
I can't go into all the details. I will say, being on the Intelligence Committee and the Homeland Security Committee, I've seen the totality of evidence. And I can say that they clearly, it's buttressed from all sides. The totality of evidence, both individually and together, says that attacks such as this were being planned. I know from talking to foreign diplomats, so I'm trying to see what I can say here that I've didn't hear actually in the briefings. From talking to foreign diplomats in non-secure settings, I've been told that clearly there are attacks planned upon ambassadors. We know there are attacks planned against the Saudis and also Saudi ambassador, and also the taking of American lives in Washington.
Just to be precise, these Iranian diplomats who are in New York and Washington right now, do you have hard evidence they were actually plotting to undertake terrorist operations inside the United States?
I'm saying that they clearly have ties to those in Iran who do those things. We know just from both from common sense and from observation, from talking to people in the community, that these people, whether it's actual terrorist activities or it's dealing with other countries or just facilitating activities, either with them or with Hezbollah, the fact is they are over here for an ulterior purpose. It is not diplomacy. It's to advance Iran's interests. And as I said, there have been instances in the past that we've actually caught them doing it, but from people I've spoken to in the intelligence and law enforcement community, there's no doubt at all that that's the purpose. They're here also in view of their links and their membership back in Iran.
Peter King is the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much.
Wolf, thank you.